Now proceed.
Okay, do I need to open up again?
Yes.
Do I need to open up again?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. The March 5th meeting of the CAAC is called to order this morning. I'm Jacqueline Burns, sitting in for Chair Barbara O'Neill. And before we get started, there is usually a statement that needs to be made prior to us beginning the meeting. Ms. Tony?
Okay, I don't have it with me, but I'll ad-lib.
Okay.
According to governor's orders, the meeting of the Community Agency Allocations Committee will be meeting virtually. All meetings are virtual. Committee members will be muted as necessary and unmuted when they are requested to speak. A recording of today's meeting will be available on the city's website at www.cityofwinston-salem.org.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, if we can have adoption of minutes from May 5th, 2021 meeting.
Kim, if you could make a motion.
Yes, I'll make that motion. I've read those. I move that we accept the February 5th, 2021 meeting minutes.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Hearing none. Minutes are received from the March 5th meeting 2021. All right, then. If there are no comments concerning that, we'll move to approve the COC recommendations for ESG funding. And guys, you'll help me move through that one because I don't have anything in front of me.
Okay, so you want to recognize Kim and Sharika from Community Development to review
Okay.
that.
Yeah, and if I can share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to now.
Let me get to the. I'm probably. Okay, can we see that spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, this is Sharika's prepared this, and there's a couple of tabs we'll go through across the bottom. The first one she has is a fiscal year 21 reference, and there are a number of projects here, proposals here that we voted on and by the rating panel back in January 2020, and they come in today's plans. So I'm going to move on. We can come back to this if there are any questions, but this is for reference. One of the notes here is for the last 5 years, the panel's been following trend of trying to bring other programs closer to Bethesda's funding level, which is simply a historical legacy. So we'll see that attempt has been made in the recommendation today. The next tab here is our scoring, and interesting about the scoring we have. This is only for the last 13 proposals. It does not include those from the 2020 meetings, but we have a number of scores that are consistent in the high 90s, and we have some that are more the high 70s. On certain projects, proposals we see a pretty vast difference of scores, from 66 to 100. So anyhow, the ratings are variable, but Sharika has included this so you can kind of see where the rating panel is on their communal effort. The next tab is the fiscal year 21-22 reference. And so we have in here the 2020 funding, current fiscal year 21 funding, the request for 22, and then the recommendations by the COC rating panel. One of the notes here is the shelter and street outreach programs may receive more than 60%. And we'll see that we come in a little bit under that on the shelter recommendations. So notes for consideration that Trick also included here, that we can't go above 60% on the ESG for the shelter and street outreach. I don't know if there's anything else in here that data coordination can all be funded for the non-shelter category. The funding recommendations then presented for the group, they 3 were offered to the rating panel to vote on, and the scenario 1 was each shelter program amount lowered by approximately 10% in requested amount. Bethesda Center did not submit application for the city ESG and will receive the remaining balance. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2 was each entity funded at requested amount. Bethesda will receive remaining balance with an increase in state funding. And then scenario 3 was increased funding for ESR, increased state funding for Bethesda. All their agencies will receive the same as previous year. So this was put through the for a vote, and the rating panel unanimously accepted scenario 2 as the recommendation. So what this does, it gives us, Bethesda is which was ahead on their profile. It's reduced a bit. United Way will receive a lot of money on the rapid rehousing, which was in the voted on last year. So this is, and I'm going to go to our clean sheet here, which is just what our recommendation is.
Okay, so our action is that we received, that we adopt the recommendations put forth. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, then I make a motion. Oh, well, can somebody do that?
You can, Ms. Burns, and the chair has given you her proxy as well.
Okay, so is there any further discussion that needs to be had prior to us making a motion?
Only if you have some concerns or issues, since you're the only other member.
I do not. I'm kind of right here with him on this. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. If there is no other discussion, I make a recommendation that we receive the funding rating panel on the recommendations put forth by this committee.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved. All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay. All right, help me out, guys. Where are we now? I don't have minutes in front of me.
Okay, so now we'll move to SOAR recommendations for today.
Okay. Is there any discussion that anybody has, or something that they weren't quite sure of, or based on what they read, that they needed additional information for, concerning any of these proposals, each of these SOAR proposals that this is for our March 5th agenda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion?
Jackie, I have one question.
Okay.
And I'm sure this is the way it's intended to be, but a number of these successful outcomes for people that have recovered is we have a couple programs here that are more prevention, which is wonderful. but they're
Mhm.
not actually addressing people that have been incarcerated. And in return, they're more with youth and all, trying to, is that appropriate?
Well, the Piedmont Triad Regional Council, the Project Reentry, does have, they work with those who are released and has a pretty darn good track record, because I've worked with that entity in the past. And I know that they do a fairly decent job at getting individuals hooked up with housing, schooling, jobs, and that type of thing. So that is an after release type of program, if that means anything to you at all.
Okay, yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But that's about the only one, and I'm with you too, because I really believe that we put so much and that's good, but what are the outcomes? You know what I'm saying? How do we know how folks are doing? Because it doesn't seem like they really accentuate it in any way that we say, these people. How many did we actually see, and what were the outcomes of it? That's what I wish we had. And maybe if we dig a little bit deeper, because sometimes there's a lot of white space in there that you have to keep on scrolling down sometimes to find out additional information, about these projects. And all of it, like you say, it's pre. Put a lot of money in stock here, but what about the outcomes? Are they favorable to what's going on? Actually reduce, the poverty, the homeless, all of it.
And all the
So
barriers, all the barriers that are thrown up to people trying to get back in, it's not an easy task.
Yes, and I wish we saw more of that, of knocking down the barriers. They're good at listing what the barriers are sometimes, and not what are you actually doing about it being barrier focused, outcome focused. And that's been an issue for me as well, Ken.
Yeah. No, I just think there's lots of good programs out here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I wonder a lot of times, are we overlapping? And I see a lot of that coming in the next group that we were looking at. The first one I looked at, I probably scored it out of turn because I thought it was going to be for this meeting, but it's not. And it just seems like that we could do more of, what do you call it when you're an intermediary and you know what all of these programs are and you connect people to the program. Everybody wants a standalone program, but we, like you said, and we have a lot of good programs out there. It's already in existence to tap, including the youth, is trying to help, provide answers for. And I just don't see enough plugging into what's already in existence to strengthen it. And it certainly would take less dollars, to be able to do it that way. But again, we are bound by what they ask us to do in scoring. So, any other comments?
Yeah, so I was just, you all are making some excellent comments and observations. And I know there's a tendency to really want to know kind of the outcomes on the end piece. And we do monitor that. But right now, let's make sure that in their proposal and what they're projecting to do, leads to some positive outcomes of sorts. So we're looking at ex-offenders who are released and back into the community. Do these programs support re-entry of any sort, or
Mhm.
any, or they're projecting any outcomes that would help the ex-offender population and or prevent it? So I know some of
Mhm.
these are prevention programs, and then some of these are after release type programs. So I would stay focused on what they're proposing to do. If they're
Mhm.
funded and we have a contract with them,
Mhm.
they will request quarterly payments. And so with each payment, it's really a reimbursement. So they have to do the work for at least 3 months, and then they have to report, okay, this is what we said we were going to do in our proposal or application, and this is what we've actually accomplished. That then triggers us to say, okay, let's give them their first quarter payment. And
Mhm.
then they work a few more months, and then we will reimburse them after those months. So each quarter they have to prove on a report that they are accomplishing the outcomes that they outline in the applications you all are reviewing. So at the event that they're not, or we're seeing something doesn't look right, or something's wrong with their finances, so we're looking at their budget, we're looking at their performance measures. We're looking at all of that each quarter. It comes to Renee, she reviews it, and it goes through a series of sign-offs before they actually get paid. So one of the things that we can share with you all, maybe, later, is kind of some outcomes from the previous year. So it takes a full year to get a full
Mhm.
year of outcomes and reports, but those would be the people who applied, say, really 2 years ago, and then we monitored them for a whole year, and then Renee put together a report that we give to council on outcomes as well. So
That would be good. I think this panel has been struggling for a couple of years now with
mhm,
what are the actuals and what has the impact been. I mean, we can get numbers of people who've gone through the program. That's not the issue. But how successful have they been afterwards, and what's the tracking mechanism so that we can see that we feel good about, oh yeah, I mean, let's do this or let's do that, or let's fund it at its current, or let's give more if it's possible. I don't know that that's possible, but my thing is, that would certainly help us, Patrice, a lot, because this is going to continue to come up and up and up and up. Are we
mhm,
sure that they're doing what, because we don't see that. You guys might see it, but we don't see that. And that seems to be a kind of pet peeve of this committee, that how successful are we really?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, well, I think for the currently funded or previously funded programs, that is definitely a valid point. And do
Okay.
we continue to fund them at this level? The new requests, we wouldn't have that track record per se, and
Mm-hmm.
so you would have to solely go on what they're proposing to accomplish. And does that make sense related to the goal of this funding for SOAR? So let's go through these new requests, and if there's anything, that you all want to comment on as we kind of go down the list, like Love Out Loud. This is a new request. Looks like the program is called Unity Wellness Center. Did you all have any thoughts about that? We've never funded them before, and they're requesting $100,000. I would also say, keep in mind that, um, let's see, FY adopted. So this is really the pot of money that
Mm-hmm.
we have for SOAR right now. And then we've got a significant amount of requests. So generally, unless we're increasing the SOAR budget, um, just keep that in mind in terms of what anything we add new. That's significant, that's a lot, a
Mm-hmm.
huge
That's a big
increase.
jump.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good size jump. Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't worry about it too much, but keep that in mind if we're adding brand new agencies, and if you really feel strongly that what they're proposing is important, and the outcomes that they're proposing will make a difference. So Love Out Loud, what did you all think about their proposal, and would you suggest that they receive funding, and funding at 100%, or funding if funding is available?
I thought it was, a lot of these are very well intentioned. We don't know exactly what success is. I find their financials to be a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the neighborly up right now, but it seemed like their budget per item per program didn't match, and it just was kind of a lot of information out there, but it didn't seem to be cohesive. I don't really think that, given that we have only so much funding to allocate, that we should fund them 100%.
I agree with that. I'm truly in for staying within the budget if we can, and if something else comes along later on that we can put in to fund new programs. But at that level, I wouldn't be willing to fund it.
Okay.
Since it's new.
Okay, so no funding for this program. Okay. And are you voting also on behalf of O'Neill? Is that a no?
I say no at that level. I'm not saying no, don't fund it, but how do we know if we have enough money to fund it at all?
Well, you won't. You'll just, right now we'll just vote, should we fund it? So the options will be funding, no funding, or partial funding.
Kim, what was your thought on that? No
Well,
funding?
I was thinking partial, but I mean, you make a good case. I had not looked at the entire picture of what we have to give, so that's another factor.
Yeah,
but I would have thought partial.
Partial as well, and I'll vote partial for Dr. O'Neill as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, why did that change? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead to this and I'll figure out the formula on this. Okay, the Dream Team Foundation, they're requesting $5,000. And this is usually typical for SOAR and new agencies. They come in typically as seed agencies. So they may not check off all the boxes, but 5,000 is like the max for seed agency. So yeah, so anything over that, and I'm not saying, you can ask for anything if you are a fully fledged nonprofit and can check off all the boxes. You very well could receive this, but a lot of our SOAR agencies are seed agencies. That was just a side note. Just wanted to.
Okay. And
I would recommend funding them at 100%. I thought it was, they're not asking for a lot of money, and they got sounds like a good program. So, all right, Jackie.
Well, I've read proposals several times on the Dream Team's recommendations, and this obviously is something, and I would recommend full funding of the $5,000 for the Dream Team Foundation.
Okay, we'll figure that out. And for Barbara O'Neill as well?
Yes. She just has to live with it. I don't think she
trusted you for, I think.
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea why I was doing that. Okay, so it'll be 3-0 for Dream Team. All right, the Well Center, the Catch program.
Is this a new addition as well?
Yes.
That's what I thought they were expanding. I like the Well Center, but I would say partial funding at around 15,000 for me.
I concur with that.
And restorative justice, the impact circles, I certainly would agree to full funding for that. I like their concepts and what they're doing in restore that. Okay.
100% agree on that.
Okay, you said, did you say full
Full,
funding?
yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. So we've got Love Out Loud and Well Center partial funding if available, but Well Center specifically 15,000. Did you have a potential for Love Out Loud if funding was available?
Kim, what you think?
I would think 30%, but
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so let's go to these are currently funded programs that we funded. So you don't necessarily have to go down each list, but we can.
We don't have to.
Okay.
No.
Is there any of them that you would not want to continue to fund?
the only one that I had a question for, and it's through lack of knowledge on my part, but the Well Center, it looks like they have a very ambitious program in 22 with a new building and all. And so I would just kind of like to hear some ideas on that. All the rest of them I seem to think were pretty much on target.
Yeah. And what are they asking for? Was it 5,000?
Well, they got 5,000 this
Yeah.
current year, but now it looks like they're asking for 228.
Yeah, I thought
And that's
So
taking
that's
over a
why
new
this
building.
total jumped up, because I was trying to figure out why did
yeah,
it.
what happened? Yeah, a build. Yeah. And I like what the Well Center is doing, but I'm not sure that we can fund them totally on this one, and I would look at a partial funding for that.
Okay, well, typically, but you all have the right to change or do anything. We'll fund them at the current level unless you make an argument based on their current proposal that justifies kind of the increase.
I agree with that.
I go along with that one too. I just, I didn't see the 200. I didn't do that one this time, and I didn't get a chance to look at it. So I would agree at funding at the current level for now.
Okay. All right.
And Dr. O'Neill as well. I'm sure she would.
Okay. So we'll have current level for all of the currently funded programs.
Yes.
So they didn't ask for any funding this year. Okay, let me see. Just for our notes' sake, so we'll go back and we'll update this sheet to make it right. Oh, it still didn't do right. Okay. So basically, consensus all the way down, current level of funding for existing SOAR programs. All right. Is that all, Renee, that we're reviewing today?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Well, you all are doing an excellent job. Thank you all so much. It's just great that you all reviewed these and then get through it. As I said before, typically we have a larger committee. There's a few, I think, applicants in the wings. And so if they can get approved by council, it's possible they can come in when we start reviewing the general fund. But
Okay.
I think you all are doing a great job and this is acceptable. And so we'll just be done with these. So what do we have next, Renee?
Therese? We have the next will be Home Finance Assistance Fund and Occupancy Tax.
Okay. So next week, yeah, housing finance assistance will be to review these.
Okay.
And then the occupancy tax, which is not too many. There's 4 under occupancy tax. And so this is a fund, and I'll just mention it, it was also called hotel tax. So these agencies would be heads in beds in a sense. And so we receive funding from the hotel tax, and the Visit Winston-Salem keeps track of heads in beds. And so that goes into a fund. And so that's why these agencies receive this occupancy tax. So they all have either programs like the National Black Theater Festival, by the Black Repertory Company. You know, Old Salem has ongoing tourism to the city. Piedmont Triad Film Commission, they host film shoots and they're recruiting films to come to the local area. So that causes a level of tourism and people coming to the city. And then of course the River Run International Film Festival, which is also brings people to the city, and they have their festival, which I think will be virtual. It was virtual this year. So anyway, I just want you to keep that in mind when you're reviewing the occupancy tax fund.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, Ms. Burns, I turn it back over to you to close out.
I have one more thing.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Renee.
That's one more thing. We have a meeting scheduled for April the 2nd, which is Good Friday. And so we need to either reschedule that, or I don't know if we just make the 16th the last meeting.
I really don't have a problem with April 2nd. What about you, Kim? I'm good. I mean, you know, barring the weather, anything like that, you know, I say we go with the 2nd.
We are closed.
Oh, you're closed.
Oh, that's complicated.
Okay, then we'll make it all. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry about
I
that.
missed that point.
I'm not bringing us on our day off.
No, I agree with that. Look,
Good Friday.
As I used to be working stiff, I look forward to every day off. Didn't realize that.
Back to your question, Renee, you know, the way we've been able to conduct business here, I think we can probably do it in that last session.
Yeah.
We just have to concentrate and be efficient.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you want me to also include some of the general fund with what they're going to discuss next meeting, the 19th?
Okay, so let me look at the calendar here. Okay, so the next meeting is the 19th. And we're doing housing finance and occupancy tax. So
there,
and
there are only 3 new.
What'd you say, Renee? I'm sorry.
There are only 3 new housing finance and no new occupancy tax.
Well, then maybe we could, you know, throw something in there then to kind of keep the 16th from being loaded.
Yeah, but Kim is new to this process, so I mean, I don't want it to be too much because he may want to review some of the currently funded as well,
Okay.
a little bit more thoroughly. So then, okay, so let me look at it. So then April 2nd is Good Friday,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So, goodness. Let's stick with the 19th and let me think about the general funds. What we
Okay.
may end up doing is just submitting a staff review for the general fund agencies, because there's quite a few and I don't want you all to feel overwhelmed unless you want to do a few, and then the remainder we can do as staff recommendations. Let me just glance down at them. Okay, so it's not too many.
Yeah.
Make them available. How about Renee, make them available to them,
Okay.
to the 3 committee members, and the priorities will be on occupancy tax and housing finance. But if
Okay,
you all have time and want to restart reviewing some of the general funds, feel free to do that.
okay,
And we'll just see what we can get through on the 19th. And
All right.
then if we have to call a special meeting, even on, say, even the 26th, if you're available, which will be the Friday after the 19th, we could do that. We could move it up one Friday.
okay,
All right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm thinking March the 26th might be the alternative.
Okay.
Do y'all think the 26th, are y'all available Friday the 26th?
Let me check.
I'll be back in town then too, by that time.
I'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's easy working with a smaller committee.
Right.
To compare so many calendars and things. Yeah. Okay, so instead of April the 2nd, we'll do March the 26th.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah, so general fund will be on that date. But like I said, if you all want to start on the general fund, and we can get to that, within our next meeting, and then just do the remainder for the following, and we'll be done.
okay. All right.
Okay, so Ms. Burns, you can adjourn if you would like.
All right, if there are no
All
additional comments, any questions that anybody has at this time, is there? Any questions, any comments? There being none, this meeting is adjourned until March 19th at 11 o'clock a.m. on Friday morning.
Oh, you did an amazing job.
All right.
Fantastic. So
You guys are so kind.
no, you did a
Bye-bye.
really good job.
Okay,
Bye-bye, you guys.
guys, okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.